So this effect is something that I saw a lot of years ago at Blackpool Convention, one of the first conventions I ever went to. A guy was demonstrating this trick, and he just floored everybody with it. Absolutely fantastic. And many years later, quite recently, we've just acquired the rights to it, so it's fantastic that we've actually got this trick. That was something that I had years ago. But basically, you have a deck of cards, and you've got an imaginary dice, which is just a dice with no numbers on it. So you get a bit of byplay with this when the spectator does it. So you give the dice to the spectator, they roll it, you ask them what they've rolled, they say, oh, 3, or 6, or 2, and say it's not loaded, blah, 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 ha, ha. And then you get them to pick a card. So obviously I haven't got a spectator, but we'll just pick this card, for example. So we've got a card, goes back into the deck, and give the cards a couple of cuts, just to make sure it's in there randomly. And then what you do is you're going to deal the cards into 6 piles. So deal them all out, asking them to remember obviously what the card is. And while you're doing the dealing, they can be like shaking the dice again just to make sure that it is just a plain dice. And again, you can put the gags in the back, it's not loaded with a 6, so they don't get 6 every time. This is just a totally random selection. So when you get to the end, you're left with a few cards, you just ask them, is that one of the cards? They'll say, no, it's not their card. So you say, this time I'm going to roll the dice one final time, and whatever number it is, we're going to keep that pile, get rid of all the other piles. So they roll it, say, I don't know, they might say a 3. And the nice thing is you can count from either end, so they can go 1, 2, 3, or they can go 1, 2, 3. So in this case, we'll say it's 1, 2, 3, we'll go for this pile here. So what you do is you can get rid of all the other piles, place them all down here as you're going along. That just leaves you with this one pile here. So what you do is you deal these cards out. One final time, you're left with a couple of cards that are left over. They can just go on there. And again, you get them to roll the dice and say whatever number they want. They might say 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's this one that we're keeping. So we're getting rid of all the rest. So all the rest of the deck can just go back in the box. We just left with one card that they're randomly selected from a deck of 52 using an imaginary dice. So it'd be amazing, wouldn't it, if that was a card that they originally picked. And you can actually show that it's the card they picked. So it's that clean. It is really, really clean. There's nothing else to add, nothing else taken away. Card goes back in there, and you've got a little miracle that you've just performed on a spectator. So that's die cast.